Nobody expected this name to explode back onto timelines like this. Not after the tours. Not after the charts. Not after everyone thought the chaos was finally behind him. But overnight, a single question detonated across the internet and turned hip-hop upside down. What if everything people have been whispering about NBA YoungBoy for years is suddenly being looked at under a very different lens? It started quietly. A clip here. A thread there. Then one post went viral asking why certain lyrics, old beefs, and unresolved street tragedies all seemed to orbit the same name. Fans didn't just react, they panicked. Twitter went into full meltdown mode. TikTok creators started pulling old interviews, slowing down bars, freezing frames, connecting dots that nobody wanted connected. And suddenly, the word allegedly was doing a lot of heavy lifting. Rumors began circulating that online investigators, bloggers, and commentators were piecing together timelines that felt disturbingly precise. 19 names. 19 incidents. 19 moments fans swear line up with lyrics, posts, and long-forgotten feuds. No official statements. No confirmed charges. Just a storm of speculation so loud it forced people to ask why this conversation keeps resurfacing, and why it never fully goes away. What made it terrifying wasn't proof. It was a pattern. The kind that make people argue until 3 a.m., deleting posts, reposting screenshots, and warning each other to watch what you say. Celebrities reacted without reacting. Vague tweets. Deleted stories. Silence where noise should have been. Because if even a fraction of what the internet is suggesting gets taken seriously, this wouldn't be just another rap controversy. It would be the most dangerous narrative hip-hop has faced in years, and one that refuses to stay buried. The moment that question caught fire, the internet didn't treat it like gossip, it treated it like a threat. Threads were locked. Videos were demonetized within hours. Comment sections turned into digital war zones where fans argued not about guilt, but about why this conversation keeps resurfacing no matter how many times it's buried. Because according to online speculation, this wasn't one rumor. It was a pattern people claim stretches back years, hiding in plain sight behind lyrics, feuds, and carefully timed silences. What pulled everyone in wasn't a police report or an official statement. It was a timeline. An anonymous thread began circulating, allegedly compiled by online sleuths who obsessively mapped music releases, public beefs, and violent incidents reported in the same regions. The thread didn't accuse. It insinuated. Dates lined up. Names echoed lyrics. Certain songs dropped just days after real-world tragedies that fans already knew about. The implication was chilling, and the comments exploded with one sentence repeated over and over: "This can't be coincidence." Fans started revisiting old interviews with new eyes. Clips where YoungBoy spoke about paranoia, loyalty, and betrayal suddenly felt heavier. Lines that once sounded like exaggerated rap talk were now being slowed down, dissected, and interpreted as possible references. Reaction videos popped up every hour, each claiming they found another connection. Some creators tried to debunk it, arguing that fans were projecting narratives onto art. Others warned that ignoring the discussion entirely felt just as dangerous. Then the alleged insider leaks started appearing. Private messages shared anonymously claimed that federal authorities had been aware of online chatter for years, though no proof was ever shown. Screenshots were blurry. Names were redacted. But the language felt calculated, not like clout chasing, but like someone afraid of saying too much. One message claimed investigators often monitor social media narratives before deciding whether something is worth looking into deeper. That single claim sent panic through the fandom. Because suddenly, people weren't asking if the rumors were true. They were asking if they were being watched. Hip-hop Twitter erupted. Some defended YoungBoy aggressively, pointing out that rap has always exaggerated violence, and that artists shouldn't be blamed for fans' interpretations. Others argued that this wasn't about lyrics alone, it was about repeated references that seemed to match real events too closely to ignore. Old beefs were dragged back into the spotlight. Names of rivals long deceased trended again, often with disclaimers like allegedly and for discussion only, as if users were afraid of typing the wrong thing. TikTok became ground zero. Creators stitched together old Instagram lives, deleted posts, and song snippets, overlaying them with ominous music and captions like "Pay attention" and "This aged badly." Some videos reached millions of views before vanishing. Others stayed up just long enough to be screen recorded and reposted elsewhere. Every takedown only fueled the narrative that something was being suppressed. The most unsettling part was how many people claimed this wasn't new. Veteran fans argued they'd been hearing whispers since the late 2010s, but nobody wanted to be the one to say it out loud. Not because of loyalty, but fear. Fear of legal consequences. Fear of retaliation. Fear of being wrong in a way that could ruin lives. One viral comment summed it up perfectly: "This is why people stay quiet. Even asking questions feels dangerous." Celebrity reactions didn't calm things down. Instead of clear denials or dismissals, what people saw were vague tweets about fake narratives, internet detectives, and art not being evidence. Some posts were deleted minutes later. Others stayed up just long enough to be interpreted as indirect responses. Fans dissected emojis, punctuation, even the time of day posts were made. Silence became suspicious. Overreaction became suspicious. Everything became suspicious. Then someone dropped what they claimed was an unofficial breakdown. The document listed 19 incidents pulled from public news archives, all marked with question marks, not accusations. Next to each was a date and a lyric allegedly released around the same time. No conclusions were drawn. No claims were made. But the side-by-side alone was enough to make people uncomfortable. Critics called it irresponsible. Supporters called it investigative curiosity. Either way, it spread faster than anyone could stop it. At the center of it all was YoungBoy's own mystique. He had always leaned into the image of being watched, hunted, misunderstood. Fans now debated whether that persona was self-defense, marketing, or something else entirely. Old quotes about surviving, moving smart, and knowing who's really loyal took on new meanings. Some argued the internet was projecting fear onto a man who had already lived under scrutiny for years. Others argued the scrutiny existed for a reason. Then the narrative twisted again. A well-known blogger posted a video saying they'd been contacted by multiple sources warning them not to continue covering the story. No names. No receipts. Just a claim. The video ended abruptly with the blogger saying, "I'm not saying this is real. I'm saying people don't want questions asked." The comment section went feral. Some accused the blogger of fear-mongering. Others believed it confirmed everything. YoungBoy himself remained silent. No posts. No statements. No responses. For his supporters, that silence meant innocence. For skeptics, it meant legal advice. For everyone else, it meant the tension was only building. Because when someone this visible goes completely quiet during a viral storm, people assume something is happening behind the scenes. And that's when the final moment of this phase landed. A short clip resurfaced from years ago, barely noticed at the time. In it, YoungBoy says, almost offhandedly, "They gonna blame me for stuff I ain't never seen." The clip spread everywhere, framed as prophecy by some, coincidence by others. The comment sections were split straight down the middle. But one reply rose to the top and refused to go away. Why does this feel calm before something breaks? Because as the speculation intensified, one thing became painfully clear: the internet wasn't satisfied with rumors anymore. People wanted answers. Bloggers wanted confirmation. Fans wanted reassurance. And according to whispers now spreading in private forums, the next phase of this story wouldn't come from social media at all. It would come from someone talking. And when that happens, this conversation won't stay theoretical much longer. The moment whispers of someone talking started circulating, the entire temperature of the conversation changed. This wasn't about fan theories anymore. This was about anticipation. Private group chats lit up with warnings to slow down, while others claimed they'd heard the same thing from different corners of the internet. Someone, somewhere, allegedly had information, not proof, not charge. Then the alleged recordings entered the chat. No clear source. No verified origin. Just short, distorted audio clips that began appearing in underground forums before jumping to mainstream platforms. Voices were muffled. Names were never said. But the language was unmistakably tense. Phrases like "keep that quiet," "that's old business," and "don't bring that up online" echoed through speakers, sending chills down spines. Skeptics immediately called it fake. Supporters argued it didn't matter, it sounded exactly like how people talk when they're afraid of being overheard. Reaction channels went into overdrive. Some refused to play the clips at all, citing responsibility. Others played them with heavy disclaimers, reminding viewers nothing had been verified. But the damage was already done. Once people hear something that feels real, logic becomes optional. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds, with fans accusing creators of clout chasing while others begged them not to stop. "If nobody talks about this," one viral comment read, "then nothing ever changes." What escalated things even further was how fragmented the reactions became. Some artists and industry figures subtly defended YoungBoy, posting messages about how the internet loves to build villains out of trauma and art. Others posted cryptic warnings about internet justice and armchair detectives. A few deleted posts almost instantly, which only fueled speculation that they'd been told to back off. Every move felt calculated. Every silence felt intentional. Then came the alleged betrayal. A rumor began circulating that someone once close to YoungBoy, not a rival, not an enemy, but an old associate, had been quietly distancing themselves and speaking to bloggers off the record. No names were given, but screenshots of alleged DMs surfaced claiming this person felt done protecting stories that aren't mine. The screenshots were impossible to verify, but they spread anyway because they tapped into a fear everyone felt, that loyalty only lasts until pressure becomes unbearable. Fans immediately split into camps. One side argued this was exactly how false narratives grow, whispers stacking on whispers until fiction feels factual. The other side argued that silence and defensiveness only add weight to questions. TikTok lives ran for hours with creators arguing in circles, voices raised, chats scrolling too fast to read. People weren't even debating the same thing anymore. Some were talking about art. Others about accountability. Others about the danger of rumor culture itself. Then a mainstream media moment made everything worse. During a segment about online misinformation, a news anchor casually referenced recent viral speculation surrounding a major hip-hop artist, without naming YoungBoy directly. That was all it took. Clips spread instantly with captions screaming that it's gone mainstream now. The mention wasn't accusatory, it was cautionary, but nuance doesn't survive virality. Fans panicked, believing the conversation had crossed an invisible line. Behind the scenes, creators claimed they were receiving warnings. Emails advising caution. Messages suggesting legal risk. Some even claimed videos were being flagged before going live. Whether coincidence or coordination, it created the impression that unseen forces were watching closely. And nothing feeds conspiracy like the feeling of surveillance. YoungBoy's silence continued. No music drops. No random posts. No indirect quotes. For someone known to speak through art, that absence was loud. Supporters said it showed maturity. Critics said it looked like preparation. Others argued it was simply self-preservation in an era where words are weaponized instantly. Then came the emotional breakdowns. A prominent fan account posted a long thread admitting they were stepping back from the conversation, saying the stress and hostility had become overwhelming. Another creator went live in tears, saying they felt responsible for spreading fear without answers. The internet had turned a question into a psychological pressure cooker, and people were cracking under the weight of it. And yet, the story kept moving. Late one night, a single sentence appeared in a private forum, allegedly from the same source who hinted someone would talk. It read, "When people hear the full context, they'll realize this was never about numbers. It was about narratives." No explanation followed. No clarification. Just that line. Speculation exploded again. What full context? Narratives about what? Music? Survival? Reputation? People began theorizing that the entire situation was a collision between street mythology, internet obsession, and the dangerous habit of treating art like a confession. Others argued that narratives don't form without seeds, and seeds don't grow without history. The tension became unbearable. Creators started teasing deep dives they hadn't released yet. Bloggers hinted at upcoming exposés but delayed them for safety reasons. Fans refreshed feeds obsessively, afraid they'd miss the moment everything tipped from rumor into something else entirely. Then, just as the internet reached peak exhaustion, a final twist hit. A respected hip-hop journalist tweeted, then quickly deleted, a simple line, "Be careful what you think you're uncovering." Some stories hurt everyone involved. Screenshots captured it instantly. People argued over whether it was a warning against speculation or a warning that something painful was coming. Either way, the message was clear. This wasn't slowing down. It was tightening. And if someone really was about to speak, the fallout wouldn't just affect one artist. It would force everyone, fans, creators, and the culture itself, to confront how easily curiosity turns into accusation, and how quickly narratives can escape control. Because once words leave someone's mouth, there's no editing them out. And whatever comes next will make everything so far feel like the warm-up. By the time the third wave hit, the internet wasn't hunting for theories anymore, it was holding its breath. The conversation had mutated into something heavier, something no longer fueled by excitement but by dread. People sensed a line had been crossed, even if nobody could point to the exact moment it happened. The tone shifted from what if to what happens next, and that difference mattered. It started with a blackout. Several creators who had been posting daily updates suddenly went dark at the same time. No goodbye posts. No explanations. Videos scheduled to premiere were quietly cancelled. One channel even wiped an entire playlist dedicated to the topic. Fans noticed immediately. Screenshots circulated showing the pages before they vanished. Theories exploded. Were they warned? Were they scared? Or did someone finally realize how dangerous the conversation had become? Then a voice cracked the silence. During a late-night live stream about hip-hop culture and internet rumors, a veteran commentator, someone known for being cautious to a fault, addressed the situation without naming names. They said they'd been contacted by multiple people urging restraint, not because anything had been proven, but because the direction of the narrative was becoming irreversible. Once the public decides who a story is about, the commentator said slowly, facts don't matter anymore. The clip went viral within minutes. That warning landed too late. Fan communities fractured completely. Some doubled down, insisting that asking questions was not the same as making accusations. Others begged people to stop, arguing that speculation at this scale destroys lives whether it's true or not. The comment sections became emotional minefields. Friendships ended over disagreements. Accounts were blocked. Entire spaces splintered into echo chambers where only one interpretation was allowed. And still, YoungBoy said nothing. No denial. No clarification. No message to calm the storm. Supporters argued that silence was wisdom in an age that twists every word. Critics argued that silence allows narratives to grow unchecked. Neutral observers pointed out that anything he said would only feed the fire. The paradox was brutal: speak and escalate, stay quiet and let the story write itself. Then the alleged documents surfaced. Not publicly. Not cleanly. Just whispers that someone had assembled a context file, a collection of screenshots, timestamps, lyrics, and headlines meant to show how easily unrelated events can be stitched together into something that feels intentional. A few creators claimed they'd seen it. None shared it. All said the same thing: it didn't prove anything, but it explained everything about how this narrative formed. That revelation flipped the script. Suddenly, the story wasn't about crimes or numbers or investigations. It was about perception. About how repetition creates belief. About how algorithms reward the scariest interpretation. About how an artist's image can become a canvas for other people's fears. Some fans felt relieved. Others felt angry. Because if this was all built on interpretation, then why did it feel so real? The culture started turning inward. Think pieces flooded timelines about rap lyrics as performance versus confession. About how young black artists are often read as threats instead of storytellers. About how the internet treats proximity to violence as proof of participation. These posts were shared just as widely as the speculative threads that came before them, creating a strange standoff between caution and curiosity. Then came the emotional breaking point. A popular fan page posted a final message before deactivating: "I came here for music. I stayed for community. I'm leaving because this stopped feeling human." The post was shared tens of thousands of times. It forced people to confront something uncomfortable: that behind every rumor are real people living with the consequences of online narratives they can't control. Late one night, the same journalist who had warned people earlier returned with a longer statement. This time, it stayed up. They wrote that they'd spoken to multiple sources across the industry who all said the same thing: there was no secret investigation being hidden from the public, no sealed indictment waiting to drop. What existed instead was a collision of unresolved grief, unresolved beefs, and an internet addicted to certainty. The statement didn't satisfy everyone. But it slowed the spiral. Just a little. And then, finally, a shift. A new YoungBoy track snippet surfaced online, not officially released, not announced. In it, he rapped about being misunderstood, about stories growing legs, about surviving narratives that weren't his. Fans dissected every bar instantly, but this time, something was different. The comments weren't accusatory. They were conflicted. People heard pain. Others heard frustration. Some heard a man responding without responding. The mood changed. Not relief. Not closure. Something closer to realization. That this entire saga revealed less about one artist and more about how quickly the internet can turn uncertainty into conviction. How easily speculation can feel like evidence when repeated enough times. How silence can be read as guilt, and words can be read as confession, no matter the intent. But even as the tension eased, it didn't disappear. Because the story didn't end with a statement or a denial or a revelation. It ended with a question that refused to go away: if narratives can grow this powerful without proof, what happens the next time the internet decides to connect the dots? As feeds slowly returned to normal, one final post circulated quietly, shared without commentary. It read, "This is why context matters. And why stories don't just hurt the people they're about, they hurt the culture that spreads them. Whether people listened or not remained to be seen. Because even when a storm passes, the damage it leaves behind doesn't just vanish. And the next time a question like this catches fire, everyone will remember how close this one came to burning everything down." Before you leave this video, understand something: conversations like this don't rewind. They don't reset. Once the internet decides a narrative, it moves on whether the truth is ready or not. And if you weren't here for the full context, you'll only ever see fragments shaped by whoever yells the loudest. That's why engaging right now actually matters.